Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 18, which is entitled as Sannyasa Yoga. Sloka 39. Agre cānubandhe sukhaṁ mohanam ātmanaḥ nidrālasya-pramādotthaṁ tāmasam udāhṛtam. At the beginning, it appears like a visham. Visham means poison, and ends up to be a amritam, nectar. Then that happiness is said to be sattvika sukhaṁ. Whereas at the beginning it appears amritam but ends up as visham is said to be rajasa sukhaṁ, quite opposite of sattvika sukhaṁ. Whereas when there is no difference from start and end, at the start, beginning, it is visham and ends as visham, then that is said to be tāmasam sukhaṁ. And that is what we are going to learn in 39th sloka. Let's see the meaning of the sloka. Yat sukhaṁ, the happiness which agre during enjoyment, ātmanaḥ, also later at the end of enjoyment, ātmanaḥ, to oneself, mohanam, becomes the cause of delusion only. Delusion or illusion means that which doesn't show the object as it is, the truth as it is. ātmanaḥ mohanam, it only increases one's absence of knowledge, increases ignorance. nidrālasya-pramādotthaṁ, nidra, alasya, pramāda, arises sleep, laziness, negligence. That is, the happiness produced by sleep, the happiness produced by laziness, and happiness produced by negligence. That prevents us from knowing about things as they are, because the senses lose their connection to the sense objects. We will learn more about this as we get into the details of the sloka. Tat, that, tāmasam, tamasic, udāhṛtam, is said to be. Translation. And that happiness which blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. These people in tamoguna, ignorance is bliss for them. This illusion means that which blinds a person from seeing the truth, the reality. While drinking alcohol or being intoxicated in some ways, they think they are in blissful situation. Lest they know it is poisonous, and the end result is also going to be like poison. The sloka says agre cānubandhe sukhaṁ, but the way this has to be interpreted is agre cānubandhe mohanam. When we say agre cānubandhe sukhaṁ, during the enjoyment, and later it brings happiness. That is, both during the enjoyment and after the enjoyment also one derives happiness. And that is not the case over here. It messes up the whole teaching of Krishna. Therefore, the wording has to be rearranged. Agre cānubandhe mohanam. During enjoyment and later after the enjoyment, it causes delusion, becomes the cause of delusion. That is, this delusion is product of three things. Number 1, sleep. Number 2, laziness. Number 3, negligence. nidrālasya-pramādotthaṁ. While sleeping, we are unaware of what's happening around us in the surrounding. So we are in mohana, in delusion. A person is not aware of anything around him while sleeping. If he is aware, that means he is not sleeping. Therefore, one thinks by going to sleep, one is free of all the problems. It's like closing our eyes when the tiger is approaching, thinking there's no tiger. The delusion that is produced by sleep is similar, thinking that by sleeping, one got rid of their problems, so they continue to sleep as much as they could. But when they open their eyes, tiger stands right in front of them. As soon as one gets up, the problems are there. By sleeping, what happens is the activities of the senses are reduced. The eyes doesn't need to see because it's shut down. Likewise, the other senses, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. By sleeping, we have just reduced the work of senses. That's why we often hear people say, take enough rest. When someone does some work, we say, take rest, take care, as if otherwise this person is not going to take rest or take care. But of course it is said out of love and affection, concern. But one should not think by taking rest or sleeping for a long time, they are going to live longer. As they are saving their energy without utilizing them, more you save your energy, more you live longer. That is not the right formula. But some people do have that idea, thinking that more we work, we become aged sooner and have a short life. Therefore, I will not work, but preserve my energy. If I engage my senses and body, I will become tired and weak, both physically and mentally. The best thing is to give enough of rest to my body and senses. That is, to sleep as much as possible, and whenever I get chance. But a simple example, when we see our grandparents, they are much more healthier and still active compared to us, because those days they were very much physically involved in doing many activities for themselves and especially for the family. In fact, those days they didn't even have many gadgets that we have now for cooking. Everything involves physical activities. No grinder, no blender, no microwave, no gas or electric stove, and many of the ingredients that needed for cooking has to be prepared on that day. Unlike now, where everything is available, we just have to pull things out of refrigerator and start using it. We have reduced our physical labor and increased diseases. When we have so much time, by reducing our work, we are using that time in sleep. Getting up late in the morning, sleeping in the afternoon, sometimes sleep in the evening, and again go to sleep right after the dinner. Majority of one's time goes in just sleeping. When one sleeps, they don't develop knowledge. In other words, one is in ignorance. But the person thinks he is in complete sukhaṁ. But lacking of knowledge is dukkhaṁ, which he doesn't realize. Therefore it is said, for one to come to the platform of sattvika sukhaṁ, one should eat less in the evenings, if possible before sunset. Go to bed by 10 o'clock. We mean 10 p.m., not 10 a.m. Before going to bed, read or hear some Krishna Katha and get up by 4 o'clock. The 6 hours of sleep should be good enough for one to function the next day. For those who want to refresh on this topic of eating and sleeping, we have discussed elaborately in chapter 6, Sloka 16 and 17. How to eat, how much one should sleep, what is the purpose of sleep, when to sleep, how to sleep, where to sleep, how to stay healthy with proper diet and sleep. All these are discussed over there. Kindly revisit. It is said in the scripture that one who sleeps for 6 hours attains Brahmasamyam, that is the qualities of Brahman, the absolute truth. One may say, yes, that's what I follow, 6 hours of sleep. The question is, 6 hours during night time, not during daytime. And even that night time is not from midnight till morning. It is not 6 hours somehow or the other, but 6 hours starting from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Only then one gets the qualities of Brahman, which is of Sattva Guna. Otherwise, sleep outside of this time frame is said to be Tamo Guna, which leads to lack of knowledge, increases ignorance. It is also said, as per Ayurveda, untimely sleep, sleeping in inappropriate place, will reduce the lifespan and brings health issues. Sleep is must and needed, but when we sleep, where we sleep, how we sleep, all matters. It is true that sleep gives us rest and hence becomes a source of happiness. The fact is that we know we get disturbed, annoyed when someone wakes up when we sleep. That proves a point. It is a source of happiness. When one sleeps, he gets disturbed by someone else, he gets angry towards that person because his happiness has been interrupted. So the point here is, sleep at improper time and excessive sleep are to be avoided. Limited sleep at prescribed time will only do good for us. On the other hand, sleep at improper time and excessive sleep will put us in illusion and brings bad result for us. Second is ālasya, sloth, laziness. This is another source for being in delusion. Ālasya means sloth in the functioning of the indriyas, senses. One doesn't want to do things when it is supposed to be done. That is said to be laziness. I have my exams coming and I have to prepare now, but I postpone doing that for no valid reason. Then it is said to be ālasya, laziness. Sometimes when we are called by the temple to do some services, that too on a holiday, then we start thinking that I have to drive and go that far. Driving takes 30 minutes and then return takes 30 minutes, and in between I have to do a couple of hours of services. 3 hours of my weekend is gone, and again starting Monday I have to work. I will become tired if I don't spend my weekend taking rest. I need to give some break to my senses. Throughout the week, it's been functioning so much. Let my senses take rest. Let me just simply sit and do nothing. It is true, as human, we need a little bit of free time for ourselves. But that free time should be to contemplate about ourself, Atma and Paramatma, besides our daily routines. This is recommended. But thinking, if I come to the temple, they will assign me some services. If I do services, then I'll become tired. It may get late to get back home. I will not get enough sleep. Tomorrow I will not be able to do my job. If I don't do a good job, my manager, supervisor will not be happy. If he's not happy, he's not going to recognize my work. If he doesn't recognize my work, I will not get bonus and promotion. If I don't get bonus and promotion, how will I take care of my family needs? I will be doing injustice to the responsibility that I've taken for my family members. Then I will be called as irresponsible husband, father, whatever the relation I may have with the family members. It's all because of me going to the temple to do service. So best to stay home and slow down the activities of my senses. This would be the mentality of such person for majority of their time. We should know that when the senses are slow in their function, there is a dimness of knowledge. That is to say, the activities of the senses are the cause and knowledge is the effect. That is, unless and until the senses are active, there won't be knowledge. Knowledge is received when the senses are active. My eyes are seeing, my ears are hearing, my nose smells, my tongue tastes, my skin touches. Through these functions, one receives knowledge. When the senses are not active, which are the cause, then the effect, which is knowledge, is not obtained. Therefore, the senses and knowledge are directly proportionate. Based on the state of senses, the knowledge varies. That is, the ups and downs in the cause will affect in the result. The ups and downs in the cause, which is the senses, sometime active, sometime not, will affect the variation in the knowledge, which is the result. Due to this alasya, one does not take up any austerity in their life. Not only that, such people also influence other people not to take up any activities or any austerities. But less they know that human life is meant for austerity. When the senses are inactive by reducing actions, that leads to lack of knowledge. When senses are active, knowledge can be achieved. Since it leads to lack of knowledge by being inactive, that results in moha, delusion. Therefore, one may think it is alright to not chant today. It is alright if I don't hear to Bhagavad Gita today. It is alright if I can skip the temple today. This is a result of laziness. Puts us into illusion, thinking what we are doing is perfectly alright. But in truth, it is not right. So the solution is one must drive their buddhi and dhriti towards good things. Else one will get alasya, becomes lazy. Lastly, the third one, which is cause of moha, is pramāda. Pramāda means lack of attention, being inattentive, careless nature in what they are doing. When proper attention is not paid to the activities on hand, knowledge gets dimmed. This dimness of knowledge grasps only few things. When we don't pay attention to what we do, then we don't get complete knowledge. We only get partial knowledge. For example, if you have not paid attention to the audio today and only heard little bit here and there about sleep, then one may decide that 6 hours of sleep is enough. But they might have missed when to have that 6 hours of sleep because they have not paid attention. Or one might have just heard going to temple will impact their family affairs. Then they may decide not to go to temple because they did not hear the complete message. They were inattentive. They didn't pay attention properly to the entire message. This is known as pramāda, lack of attention in what we do. Result of that is lack of knowledge, or knowledge which only grasped few things, not the whole. When there is lack of attention, the productivity is reduced, the performance is reduced, and the end result is not very good. Due to inattentive nature, one does not do things correctly. One cannot derive proper jnana. Again, like nidra and ālasya, when there is no knowledge, it leads to mohanam, delusion. So we can see the 3 causes for delusion are sleep, laziness, and inattentive nature. How does these 3 things give happiness? By sleep, one becomes unaware of the surroundings. No problems are seen. Therefore, they derive happiness by sleeping. Ālasya brings happiness. By being lazy, one becomes happier because they don't have to take up any austerity, like getting up in the morning, or even going to sleep at the right time, or engaging oneself in some services. None of these things has to be done, and they derive happiness by not engaging their senses, by reducing the function of their senses. And lastly, pramāda, lack of attention, also brings happiness. How? One doesn't need to focus on what they do. If one has to focus and do, there are a lot of stress. Therefore, don't need to pay any attention. Just do however, whatever way you want. It is all right. They don't know sleeping as recommended, being active as recommended, and being attentive as recommended is said to be happiness and goodness. To summarize, the idea of elaborating the 3 types of happiness, sattvika sukhaṁ, rajasa sukhaṁ, and tāmasa sukhaṁ, is to say that one should give up rajasic and tamasic type of happiness and seek sattvika sukhaṁ, because that happiness lasts long and gives clarity of knowledge about ourself, the Atma and Paramatma. The other 2, Rajasa Sukhaṁ and Tāmasa Sukhaṁ, will further entangle us into this samsara, material world. With this, Krishna ends the 3-fold divisions based on Sattvika, Rajasa, and Tamasa gunas. In the next verse, Krishna clearly states that no one can escape from these 3 gunas. As long as they are in this world, one cannot avoid the influence of 3 modes of material nature. This also includes the devatas in the higher planetary system. Then what to speak about us and the lower beings. We will learn more about that in our next session. Yad agre cānubandhe ca sukhaṁ mohanam ātmanaḥ nidrālasya-pramādotthaṁ tāmasam udāhṛtam. Thank you. Namaste. Hare Krishna.